Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Team Selection Show round three. Round three, and we're already at crisis point. Safe to say this has been another very difficult week. I want to know how you're all feeling because once again, it has been a myriad of spheres being thrown at the club this week, and the media has been at its peak inflammatory and antagonistic, and it's been hard to consume. I think such a big part of it as well this week has been because half the teams or a big chunk of the teams had the bye, and so there was less news stories to report on. Carlton also had the bye. Hello, Atush. And they're usually doing something newsworthy or something stupid. And Kangaroos won the week before, so there was nothing negative to say about them. So it was just a perfect storm. We have all copped it. I hope you're all doing super well. We are going to have a couple of absolute kangaroo legends on the show joining us tonight. The first one is my girl, Marnie from KangaTV. How are you, darling?
Hey, I'm sitting in the car. It's pouring with rain outside, but I'm here and we're doing it. We're doing it.
I'm so happy I have you for a little bit. Yeah, I'm just holding my shit together every single
as good as you can be. Great.
Yeah, every single swipe on social media at the moment is more doom and gloom, and it's making you really consider why you follow this sport. Maybe it's just life as an Essendon supporter that I need to get used to, right? But it has been a pile on, safe to say. How are you feeling after the loss on the weekend?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting, it was very interesting from round one to round two. And I think that given how North have performed over the past sort of 3 to 4 years, as a whole, a lot of fans sort of found it really difficult to watch the first quarter on Sunday, where we're up by 5 goals at quarter time, and then just watch it disintegrate in 2 quarters or less than 2 quarters. It's really hard to know what North Melbourne to trust at this stage. Like, we're sort of all sitting here like, well, who can we trust? Is it the side that defeated Port Adelaide in round one, or is it the side that capitulated in 2 quarters against West Coast in round two? So I'm very nervous for Saturday night, because I think that there will be a mass reaction either way, to be honest. So yeah, it'll be very, very interesting.
It's funny because there's no Essendon supporter watching this currently that actually thinks you need to be nervous. There is not one Essendon supporter who genuinely thinks that we have a very, very high chance of winning this game. At least you've seen some hope in the first round. It wasn't just a win. It was a very convincing, good win. So you didn't just scrape over the line. There was some exceptionally good signs from the unit, from your team as a whole, some real fluidity to your ball movement and some of the tactics. So I think maybe that's more of a reflection. Do you think it was more against West Coast a matter of getting ahead of yourselves? Did you think you're going to win? Do you think it was, you thought you were going to just win that game easily?
Yeah, I think so. I reckon that we've come out against West Coast and this is how I sort of say it. We've come out against West Coast, all guns blazing. We've gone not just 5 goals up in terms of scoreboard, but we really dominated majority of the play in the first quarter. So I feel like maybe we thought we could just sort of roll on for the next 3 quarters. And I sort of said this in my review after the game. In what world does North Melbourne think that they can just rock up and be there and win a game? Like, I just think it is the complete disrespect to West Coast. And as a side that a lot of opposition sides would probably look at North and say, oh yeah, North's an easy beat, we'll just roll on in and we'll be able to get ourselves back into form on the back of, maybe they're out of form or whatever. It's happened to us quite a few times. We've sort of allowed teams to play us and play themselves back into form. We shouldn't. Well, this is the thing, and I think this is what makes me nervous in particular. We haven't beaten Essendon since 2016, and there's a lot of that going around on socials and in the media this week. And if I was an Essendon in an Essendon fan or a player or whatever, I'd sort of be sitting there and going, well, here's a real opportunity for us to play ourselves back into form and sort of get our season going. Because as well, you just don't know what North Melbourne's going to turn up. So from my perspective, I really hope that was a lesson learnt quickly and early in the season for North, and so we can actually really take back our destiny into our own hands and, just put in the work from the get-go and across 4 quarters and hopefully get a result similar to what we had against Port in round 1.
Yeah, I can totally understand that sentiment. I guess from where I sit is we have shown absolutely nothing to suggest that we have the ability to bounce back or to respond right now. And we get another team on the response. Hawthorn we had on the response. Port Adelaide we had on the response, and now obviously Kangaroos we're getting on the response, and we just can't handle just basic amounts of pressure at the start of a game, let alone a team who are coming out trying to kind of kill a 10-year hoodoo. So where do you think you need to be better against us in terms of what compared to what let you down, I guess, in relation to what let you down against West Coast, outside of the attitude, the general attitude? Like what line was it that you needed to see an improve from? Because your midfield is just so incredibly horrifically scaring to me, particularly your ruckman. He makes me stop and stare. He really does. He's so effective around the ground, and by rights he shouldn't be for his size.
Yeah, he's a freak. In a good way.
Yeah.
So our midfield is our strength is our clearance work. But what let us down a lot of last year, and what let us down in particular, I thought, against the Eagles, is we win the clearance, sure. And Tristan Cherry, as dominant as he is below his knees, he's a big culprit of this too. We just sort of take the ball out of the middle of the ground and hack kick it forward. There's not a lot of thought in terms of where the ball's going, and often it just leads to an uncontested mark to the opposition in defense, and we allow them to sort of build, and our pressure through the middle of the ground is not fantastic either. So often sides can transition from one end of the ground to the other pretty easily and pretty seamlessly. So in round 1, we were much better at being a little bit more deliberate with our clearance work, and then B, we're lowering the eyes. We're entering the forward 50, and we're able to pinpoint a lot of these guys lace out on the chest, which is something I haven't seen from North for a very long time. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, if there's another one, is probably being a little bit more agile and just creating more space and opportunities for our defenders when we're exiting our defensive 50. I mean, our defense is horrific, and it's definitely our weakest line on the ground, and that's no surprise to anyone who is across any football outside of their own club. But the one thing that West Coast did so well is we just could not move the ball further than 80 metres away from our defensive goal. In the second and third quarters in particular, they defended the ground so well. We were just forced to go long down the line time and time again, and we were either getting outmarked or unable to even create a contest. West Coast were just so strong in that area. So we really need to do better, and this is where the midfield needs to work harder as well, and even those smaller defenders. We need to create space, and we need to create more opportunities for the overlap hand pass or for a little bit of run and carry in the middle of the ground. We are quite a slow side coming out of defence anyway, so we probably need to just create more space. We need to create more options when we're trying to leave our defensive 50. So they're probably the 2 key things for me that I'd be hoping that we can rectify ahead of Saturday night if we are going to be not just a threat, but to really sort of cement ourselves on the game and to, put on a good score.
Yeah, it's funny you say about your defensive line and the defender's kind of inability to spread and be an option for, the kicker kicking out after a free kick or a kick in, because it was kind of, they gave you a bit of the medicine that I felt like you gave Port the week before. You guys just closed space so quickly. You were so up for the contest and to pressure the Port backs. They looked shaky. They were jumping at shadows by the end of it because your forwards just closed space so well. And last week it felt like the Eagles did that a bit to your defense. So I'm hoping that we have watched and we're playing our forwards the tapes of both of those scenarios, and we can do a bit of what the Eagles did to you, because yeah, who out like how? Firstly, two questions. Firstly, how's my guy Paul Curtis? He's my favorite kangaroo. How's he How's he tracking? I know all the spotlight is on Larky and how amazing he is, and he really is. He's a very clever and proficient forward. Is has the ability to find space anywhere. But how's Paul Curtis coming?
He's had an interesting start to the year, PC. He presents really well at the footy. His marking abilities are quite freakish. He's definitely
Yeah,
one of the best marks in our side.
probably
But
take
he's been
Mark
a
of the
little
Year
bit.
tomorrow on Saturday night. Don't worry.
He had a really good one in round one, so I'm more than happy for him to try and upstage that on Saturday night. That'd be fine by me. But he's been a little bit inconsistent in front of goal. I think he kicked 1 goal 3 or 2 goals 3 in round one, and he kicked 1, maybe 2 on the weekend. So he hasn't really been electric to start the year as he was last year. Same with Cam Zurha, actually. Both of them been a little bit inaccurate in front of goal. Work rate's there from Paul Curtis's side anyway. He presents, like I said, really well at the footy, great set of hands. But we probably need him to be a little bit more accurate in front of goal. But Larky's accuracy in front of goal so far this year has probably been his saving grace, because he hasn't really missed a shot, Nick Larky, this year.
Yeah, he's in some very, very good form.
Yeah.
We're probably going to run 2 or 3 defenders through him, on him, and maybe just like on Mitch Georgiadis, maybe we'll throw some small defenders on him too this week, just for shits and gigs. Yeah, it's a fun time to be an Essendon supporter. Who is, because Essendon fans who don't possibly watch a lot of kangaroo football might not be aware, who are some of the young kids outside of, well, firstly, is Wardlaw going to play? Is he definitely going to play? I mean,
I believe he's going to play. We'll find out, in 10 minutes' time. But the word on the street is that he is playing on Saturday night.
Okay. So outside of Wardlaw and Sheasel, McKercher, all those kind of guns who are coming into their, their real peak, or starting to come into their peak, who are some like young, or one young guy who is kind of maybe performing better than what you thought he would be at the moment?
Fino O'Sullivan is probably one to watch. He's a freak. He was picked 2 in the 2024 national draft. His work, like his in and under work, is sensational, but also his ability to apply pressure and shut down players. Now, pick 2 is not what you want to be spending on a tagger, obviously, but even just to go with some of these players for a quarter and learn off them and see if you can sort of shut them down. So he kept Zach Butters to 1 touch in the third quarter when we played Port, and Zach Butters was not just Port's best, but he was probably one of the best on ground in general. So for Foss to be able to lock him down, that's pretty impressive. He's definitely one of our best ball users as well. So he's probably the one. Cooper Trembath, he's also been unreal for us, made his debut late last year, and he kicked 3 goals in each of his first 4 games, the last 3 games of last year and round 1 this year. Couldn't hit the scoreboard, unfortunately, on Sunday, but in the third quarter, he was moved to defence because we just needed someone to cover Griffin Logue's absence down there. But he'd be the one, and I think it's interesting you talk about the way that Essendon sort of tag team Georgiades, and I'd say that might have, well, it didn't work on Sunday because they
not when our small midfielder and then our small defender is lining up on him. But I mean, everything was going wrong, so why not?
Yeah, but our forward line's been really dangerous, and it's really evolved over the last 12 months. Unfortunately for Jack Darling on the weekend as well, it was the worst game he's played for North. He just had a nightmare of a game, but he is very dangerous, and he's still got it, especially when it comes to marking the ball. He's got a great set of hands, but also doing the body. He's really strong in a contest, so even doing the body work to allow someone like Trembath or to allow Curtis or Zurha to sort of attack the footy a bit more. And then obviously Larky as well. So if Larky does get some attention, we've got a few other guys who can step up to the plate, but that is also, they've got to get good delivery from the midfielders. So as dangerous as they can be and as potent as that forward line can be, the onus is also on the midfield to make sure they're delivering the ball well inside the forward 50 and allow these guys the opportunities that they need.
Of course, of course. You mentioned Jack Darling. He's the interesting one for me because he gets up the ground quite well, and I never would have kind of associated a really good tank and a flexibility in his kind of game in when he was at West Coast, but he gets up the ground more often than I guess I expected and you'd think. What do you think that helps his game? Because I often think that if we let 2 meter Peter at the moment spend a bit more time in the ruck as opposed to just being a stay-at-home forward, it could probably get him out of his head a little bit. It'll just free him up. When he's in the forward line, he's thinking about how many leads he has to make, and I can just see all the mechanisms happening in his head. And I think potentially for Jack Darling, it's freed him up a little bit. I don't know, to make him feel like he can impact more than if he was just pegged in the forward line.
Jack Darling's such an interesting one. I was hot on his recruitment when we brought him in 2024. I thought
I know
he
you
was
were.
going to transform our forward line because Larky has not had appropriate support
Yeah.
alongside him for a number of years now. And
Mm.
Jack Darling does allow Nick Larky to just stay in the forward line and be that number one forward, but he's a freak athlete. Like he's humongous, and he's definitely lost a bit of speed, and yeah, he's probably lost a little bit of endurance as well, just given that he's approaching the latter part of his career. But he presents so well up the ground, and he is a really great contested mark. He does spend a bit of time in the ruck as well, which I don't love. I'd rather Cooper Trembath be the one to chop out Sherry when he needs a rest, which they actually have been doing. Cooper Trembath has a great leap, but I think Jack Darling is better when he is either presenting higher up the ground as a marking target, or is actually just at home. Because like I said, it's not just about, and his role in the forward line and his recruitment was never about him being the guy to kick 30, 40, 50 goals in a year, but it's actually he's been able to take the second best defender just because of his sheer size. And despite the fact that he's approaching the latter part of his career, you never lose your ability, you never lose your football smarts. And Jack Darling has been a real example of that. And also his
he came from such
pressure,
a good system. He came from such a good system 100%. And it's such a successful period for West Coast.
Well, he's a premiership player and he knows what it takes. But his tackling pressure is something that I think goes severely underrated as well. He was the second, and I've got to get this right, but I'm pretty sure in 2024, he was the second best forward. I think he had the second highest tackles inside the forward 50 of the competition. And I think Paul Curtis was number one. So when we had 1 and 2 in our forward line from last year, makes a massive difference. And he likes to get around the ground, JD, and lay a few tackles. My all-time favourite moment against Adam Chera against Carlton last year.
I know you have that on repeat.
I don't know if only Carlton's still floating around in the chat, but I've sent him that a fair amount of time. So I thought if you're still here, I've just...
Be honest, I think you watch that to get to sleep every night, don't you, Marns? Be honest.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm happy to admit that. No problem. No problem at all.
We love it. We love it. Okay, well, let's talk. I've only got you for a little bit longer, so let's talk quickly before you go some key matchups. So obviously our most dangerous players at the moment are our babies. And hey, I'm leaning in and I'm all in on the babies. So let's talk about who is going to stop from your point of view, Nate Caddy this week. Who is Nate Caddy's best matchup?
Well, we're about to find out when the teams drop because we've lost Griffin Logue. So Griffin Logue would be the one to go to Caddy. And Griffin Logue, I don't know what anyone thinks about his defensive abilities, his playing abilities. I personally like Griffin Logue, and I think that he looked the fittest and the best he had since he came across at the start of 2023. Entering into 2025, he was really good in that practice match against Collingwood, and I thought his defensive work in round 1 was...
Why does this always happen? Just when it was getting good. Marnie, can you hear me? Oh, how upsetting. This is what you get. we're supposed to have. I've got all the perfect internet connections. Why is it? I feel like as soon as I say this happens. This is what I feel. Oh, hang on. Have I got you back?
Hello, sorry, I don't know what
Okay.
happened there.
I don't know what
It's the
happened there.
It's the Wild West in Melbourne tonight, so it could be something
That's
to do with
true.
that.
That's true.
Or maybe it was me mentioning Aiden Core and some angry North fan just like cut off my system. You might be able to tell me if Aiden Core is playing on the weekend or not, but he would be my pick to replace Logue, and he would be the one that I would be bringing in, because I still think that although Charlie Comben, everyone.
As Essendon supporters, are we not in enough pain at the moment? Okay. Marns,
Am I
if
here
you can
still?
hear me. Oh, I can hear you, but I can't see you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we'll just go with it. I can't.
Sorry, everyone. This is really great quality viewing.
I just feel like
awesome.
Essendon supporters are just not meant to have any happiness this year in any form. And I'm trying to bring them some happiness in the form of content, and it's not quite working. But anyway, continue, Marns. Yeah, I know, Rhapsody. We are cursed. We should expect it 100%. All what we heard last was Aiden Core to come in, as opposed to, you were starting to say on Comden.
Yeah, so Core, he probably would be a really good support for Comben and for Pink. These guys are still pretty early on in their careers in the grand scheme of things, but I also wouldn't be opposed to Will Dawson being there to take it, or Luke McDonald plays taller. He did a really good job, I thought, on Jake Waterman in the absence of Logue last week.
Marns, the teams have just dropped, and Aiden Core, you are correct, is in, as is Callum Coleman-Jones and George Wardlaw for the Kangas. Obviously, oh gosh, chat and everybody, Marnie, I feel like I need to see you and hold your hand, but Jack Darling has been omitted.
Oh, that's a bit disappointing. For Callum Coleman-Jones, I would think that's a bit disappointing. Anyway, continue.
And Jacob Constanti has been omitted as well. After we just spoke at how good Jack Darling's going, we talked him up. We're doing real well tonight, team. And obviously Griffin Logue injured. And for us, Sardar Hooley, Archie Wicks comes in. Archie Wicks, anybody who's followed me on Instagram saw that video I posted of the forward group this morning, having a very robust discussion with Brad Scott and the coaches. Well, Archie Wicks was in that group, as was Jade Gresham, who also comes in. So no surprises there. Jacob Farrow is debuting, and Sardar Hooley, Max Kondagianis, another baby, being omitted, Huss omitted, and Jaden Yuen omitted. Very interesting changes for us. Sorry, continue, Marns.
No, it's interesting because Riley Hardiman hasn't been selected, which I think the North fan base heads will definitely roll. On the back of that, Callum Coleman-Jones is an interesting one. Probably not the path I personally would have taken.
Okay.
And I don't know if those omissions are being ruthless at the selection table. I probably would have liked to have seen a little bit more assertiveness. Jacob Constanti, I think it's fair game.
Okay.
That's a call I would have made as well. So
Coleman-Jones, is he? Wow. He's obviously going to help Sherry out in the ruck, I would imagine.
Yeah, maybe the only thing I could think of there is Sherry, while he's been really effective around the ground, he's definitely struggling to adjust with the ruck rules. So I wonder if there's something in that. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Definitely not the omission I was expecting, though, to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see Jack Darling omitted coming. That's... is that a big? Is that like a statement from? Oh God, I've forgotten your coach's name. What's his name?
From Clarko.
From Clarkson, from Alistair Clarkson. Is that statement-ish for him, or?
I don't know if it's I don't know. I'm actually not sure if it is or not. And if it was a statement, it's not like I wouldn't have been bringing in Coleman Jones for him. Like I said, he was really poor against West
Mm-hmm.
Coast. It's the worst I've ever seen him play for North, but I also think it was an outlier of performance.
Okay.
And I think that having him there would have stretched Essendon's defence because he's really smart.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm not sure about that one. I guess it's very much a wait and see.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I can't see your beautiful face, but I will thank you profusely anyway for joining us all here tonight. Chat has enjoyed having you online and giving us a bit of an insight into North. So I'm not going to say good luck because, to be quite honest, we really need this. And you guys have had a win. So we really need this for our souls. Like, it's gotten to the point where our souls are involved here. Like, the spirit is dying. And we need this. So if you have any, I know you don't have any say in the result, but just give us this one, please.
I'm so sorry that I dropped out towards the end. Thank you so much for having me. And I can't wish you good luck because we equally need this. But hopefully it's a good game, enjoyable game for all involved. And go North. I'll have to leave you on that one.
All right. Thank you so much, darling. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, my love.
Bye.
I'll speak to you soon. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye. Well, we didn't get to see her beautiful face towards the end, but we got some very good insight. Let's have a look if I can share my screen here and we'll go through some of the changes together in a bit more depth. Don't know how well this is going to go. Let's have a look. What does this give me? Oh, here we go. That's pretty good. All right. So Huss, I saw coming, absolutely saw coming. As I said, if you're following me on Instagram, there was today at training the group, the forwards with Brad Scott and Gary Rowan and obviously forwards coach as well, Cam, were having a really robust discussion. Perkins was there, Archie Wicks was there, Gresham was there, Huss was not in there. So that was a clear, obvious bring in for me. Max Contagianis, I suspected. I texted a friend today saying as soon as Jacob Farrow came in, I thought maybe Condo might get omitted. Jaden Yuen may be a little bit of a shock, but there's probably not a direct matchup for him. And Sardal Hawley just makes me feel a little bit better. How about you guys? In the chat, anybody? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading some of you. It doesn't sound like you're all too happy with the kids getting dropped, but in fairness, I think it was probably okay that both of them got dropped, and like it's okay for them now to have had a taste of the big stage and then to go back in the VFL and put together like a string of 5 good games and then kind of work their way back in. All right, well. One Kanga legend goes out, but lucky for me, I have another Kanga legend content creator lined up for you to bring us his insight. It is Josh from the Further North Pod. Hello, Josh.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on this cold, wintry night in Melbourne. I spoke to Marnie a little bit before, but how are you feeling after I guess we call it a shock loss because that's kind of what it was to the Eagles, wasn't it? I think it was kind of a shock.
Yeah, I think to us it was, but I think on paper maybe no. Like we've both been at the bottom for a long time, right? So maybe it shouldn't have been. But after our performance against Port, yes, it was sort of a shock. This is where we're at North Melbourne. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. You just dropped out for a little bit. So just if you could just repeat what you said because you were frozen on the screen. Yeah, it could be me.
Oh. No, I'm so sorry. Yeah, my wife, I don't know how my Wi-Fi is going here. So we'll see. There's rain outside. It's all happening. So look, I was surprised we lost to them, but we did only win one game. So we can't get ahead of ourselves too much. We have been struggling for a while. So we can't get too cocky after one good win. But it was a bit of a shock loss to the Eagles. I hope we can back it up and try and do something better this week, back up what we did against Port. But I'm terrified every time we play a game, to be honest with you. I've seen some things over the years with North and, we've all got a bit of trauma, don't we?
We can shake our hands. This is we are trauma bonding right here, Josh. What
right.
you've seen, we've seen, and the opposite. But something I think about the Port win was they just had a bit more essence to it. It felt a bit more sustainable than your wins in the past. I don't know if it was just a round one high. I don't know if Port was shell shocked with a new coach. But to me, watching you guys against obviously on TV, but it just felt like a different flavor of win. It felt like a more sustainable setup. And that's why, for me, the Eagles game was a shock because you set yourselves up to win that game. You got 5 goals ahead, and then was it more attitude than skill for you?
Well, look, that first game was the best game of football I've seen North play for 5 or 6 years, I reckon. Like, we were the best team from the start to the finish. We ran the midfield. Our forward line was too strong. Our defense was really, really good. There was nothing really bad you could say about us in that performance, and it felt like, wow, this moment where if we can do that, we might really jump up the ladder with all the talent that we've got. And then, like what you were saying before, with the Eagles, when you look at the stats from that game just for each team, we dominated that game statistically. There was one big thing, which is the reason why we lost that game, in my opinion, which is just turnovers. Other than that, we dominated clearance. Our effectiveness inside 50 was sky high compared to theirs. We won a lot of uncontested possession and moving the ball around the ground. Hit outs and all that sort of stuff we dominated, but we turned the ball over more than they did. They used it cleanly, and it was just weight of numbers for them putting it inside 50. It was repeat entry after repeat entry. And I don't think any of their forwards overly stood out, but it was just how many times they were banging down the door seemed to get them over the line. So I don't think we inherently played badly. I think they actually played really good, and it's credit to the Eagles. I mean, young team, talented, over in their home stadium. A lot of those players playing their first game as well over in their home stadium. So we set it up exactly how we did against Port in the first quarter, and it looked like another performance like that. And they brought pressure. We panicked, turned the ball over, and we just let them bang the door down too many times. But, I hope we can do something a little bit better this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid the thing that we need to do as a club for not only the fans but for their confidence is we need to pile on 3 goals straight in a row, because we have not had our first quarters, not just this year in 2 games, but historically are so bad, and we are constantly playing catch up. But last year, I'm not sure if in both our games against the Kangaroos, but at least one of them, we got off to a hot start, and we might have kicked 3 or 4 in a row, and we looked really good, but then Kangaroos came back. I feel like for us, if we can't get off to a really quick start and kind of stamp out any kind of flair or confidence that you guys are having, maybe being back at Marvel and remembering kind of what you guys did in round 1, I feel like we're in all sorts of trouble, and especially because we've been so down in the middle, and that's where you guys are shining so brightly at the moment. I was talking to Marns about Tristan Sherry, who just completely he just makes me stop and watch him. And how is he so effective and proficient at his craft? Like, it's born to do what he does.
It's so interesting with Tristan, because I famously on the podcast despised this player. I thought he was one of the worst players I've ever seen in my entire life. And this, I'll give you a quote here, and this is true to this day. He's never played a good game without the helmet on, and he's never played a bad one with the helmet on. I don't know what that thing did to him when he turned up in the helmet one day. It gave him magic powers, but he was a spud, to be honest with you. He couldn't mark the ball. He couldn't do anything. But look, these bigger guys take longer to come on, don't they? So he did his 5 or so years under Goldstein, obviously, as you would know, like a good mentor and a proper professional. But all of a sudden he whacked the helmet on and he became just so dominant. And I was really worried going into this season about the new ruck rule with him, and the 2 preseason games we did play. It didn't look good at all. But one thing I loved what we did to counteract that against the Power was Tristan didn't seem like he was jumping to try and win that hit out. He was sort of waiting for the ball to come to ground and wrap the player up. His tackling ability is the best ruckman in the league at tackling. He's one of the best in the league. Full stop.
He's coming second in the league. That's insane.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. And he does it year in, year out. So he seems to wrap everybody up in there. Wardlaw, hope maybe Wardlaw comes back in. I haven't seen the team lineup yet, but
he's back in, Josh.
Yeah. So look, I think that's going to be really important for us, because he's not going to get his first hand to the ball, I don't think. But if we can cause a stoppage and then he can go back to just wrestling, which he's elite at, that's where we're going to have the ascendancy. I did a preview pod. I haven't put it out just yet, but I have recorded the pod with Rob from the Sash, and we were talking about the midfield battle as well. And he was saying, because on paper, I look at the Bombers midfield, I'm like, oh, there's, they've got some players in there, but apparently I haven't watched heaps. I watched the first half against Port, and that's about all Essendon I've watched this year. But he was saying how poor the midfield has been compared to maybe what they've done previously. And I'd say that's our strength. Our game plan is to try and win ball from stoppage and get it forward quickly. And I agree with what you were pointing out before, where if you don't start hot or you start a little bit slow and we can get a little bit of a run on, I think we can dominate out of that midfield, because our midfield is a good mix of tackling ability and explosion. We don't deliver the ball out of the midfield overly well. We sort of resort to bombing it long a lot of the time, which is one of the reasons we lost the game last week. But if we can win clean clearance and push the ball forward quickly, I think our forward line's got a lot of weapons that I don't know how the Bombers can counteract with Zurhaar, Curtis, Larkey, those three up there. If we can do that, I think we can win. But if we don't get the ascendancy in the middle, which is most games of football, our backline doesn't like pressure, to be honest. So we'll see what happens.
Your midfield get their hands on the ball first, more often than not, but they struggle to get it to the outside for mine with any kind of fluidity. And then it's, as you say, then they invite pressure and then they bomb it into the forward line. And to be fair to your forward line, they are doing an exceptional job at just kind of embracing that chaos and making something of it. You've kind of got quite a bit of flamboyancy down there, I think, with Trembath and Curtis and Doveston now and Larkey. There's a real kind of, I don't know, flair to all of those forwards. So they do a really good job at kind of working with that chaos ball. But if I was coaching the midfield, centre bounce and midfields for Essendon, I would say just read everything Sherry does. Don't worry about Blackiston. You just read Tristan Sherry, because that's what the Kangaroos mids are going to be doing, and all you need to do is watch how they rove to him, because he's so good at the craft. So you said you haven't seen the team, so let's have a quick look live at the teams. As you can see there for the Kangas, Aidan Corr, George Wardlaw, and Coleman Jones come in. Oh. That's what Marnie said. And Jack Darling being omitted is the shock one for me. Obviously, Logue being injured, and then
no Hardiman back in either. Oh, interesting.
But wasn't there also a possibility that is it Dawson? Will
Dawson, that's who I wanted in, and the veteran Aidan Corr is in. This is, you've thrown me here. Geez, that's not the. I was hoping Wardlaw was back in. I knew Constanti, Darling, Logue were maybe the ones I was thinking. I love Jack Darling, and I actually think he plays Marvel really, really well. So I probably personally wouldn't have dropped him. This suggests to me that Cooper Trembath is going to play back if Callum Coleman Jones is in. So they threw him back last week.
And how? Oh yeah, okay. And how did he go? I didn't watch too much of that game. I was live.
Serviceable, but it was a very small sample size. It was later in the game, so not enough to exactly know. But Coleman Jones can't play anywhere. But
who would
great
he match
question.
up on? So tell us who you think Aidan Corr, now that he's back in, who will he go to, and who will Trembath go to? In that regard.
The one thing I'm a bit concerned about,
let's talk about
Toby Pink, the one thing I'll be concerned about is like Peter Wright's height, because all those players are mid 190s or early to mid 190 centimeters. Trembath plays above his height incredibly well. He's got one of the best verticals I've seen in the league, to be honest. He jumps over everything. So I don't know. I guess Charlie Comben as well being in there. Yeah, maybe. Does he go back then? Maybe not. I don't know, because Comben's got to try and intercept off somebody, right? And I was talking about this today with some people. I'm like, Comben wants to play on a man, but if he's got a chance to go off him and intercept the football, which he's good at, who is that going to be? And for me, maybe it's Peter Wright, but then we have a habit of making maybe average AFL forwards look very, very good. I think.
So do we.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. This is really some bottom four chat, to be honest.
You're right. This is just eliteness. Yeah. But you know what we are, Josh? You know what we are? We are self-aware. We are the most self-aware.
Yeah, we know where we're at. We're not Carlton. We know where we're at. Yeah. It's so interesting. I don't know, because Aidan Corr hasn't played for 8 months or something like that. I don't even know the last game he played. It might have been early last season, but he had a pretty major injury and is coming back. I'm so surprised it's him over Will Dawson, because I would have put maybe a Dawson and Peter Wright is a perfect matchup. Dawson's a big body, tall.
That's what I thought Dawson too, yeah.
Yeah, big matchup. So I don't know. I would say Comben has to go on Peter Wright, and maybe he can play off him a little bit and hope he doesn't kick straight potentially.
So Caddy, who takes Caddy then? Caddy's the one who...
I think it has to be Pink. I think Pink is this weird player where nobody, even us, we don't look at him and go, yeah, he's going to do the job. And he always kind of does the job. Like he lined up on Horn Francis at the first bounce and he played on him a lot of that 3 of the 4 quarters, I reckon, in that Port game. And I was terrified. And Horn Francis didn't touch the football. It was the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, I love that Nate Caddy is lined up here on Caleb Daniel. If that's just
matchup of dreams. Caddy's kicking 13. Fantastic.
I mean, Caleb Daniel is sleeping so soundly tonight, knowing that he's matching up with Nate Caddy.
Caleb Daniel maybe leads him up the ground and he gets stuck on the wing and doesn't kick goals. This is genius Clarkson ball. I love it.
Oh, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing. Yeah, but you know what? Nate Caddy likes to take some hangers, so he doesn't have too high to fly.
He's going to be the same height anyway if he takes a hanger on Caleb Daniel. That's why he's got the helmet, the crash helmet on Daniel as well, so that'll help him. I think Pink probably plays on Caddy. Comben on right, and then I guess Core goes to Langford. So then maybe we're just going really tall because I was like, I wasn't expecting those.
That is quite, you have gone in tall now that I think of it because Conwyn Jones is 200 centimetres.
He is, very, very tall, 200 centimetre player, ruck / forward, but hasn't maybe done heaps to be honest. So I don't know. I'm shocked Will Dawson's not in. I don't like that one bit to be honest. And Coleman Jones, look. I was sort of known on the pod early days as being a CCJ fan. He was, not great, and I sort of got off the bandwagon there. So, look, good on him, and I hope he does well. But, it would be so – I just don't understand how you play Coleman Jones and Sherry together because you're not going to sit someone on the bench for 60% of the game, right? So,
but they might like that with 5 on the bench these days, Josh. Like that is a possibility, and a lot of the coaches spoke about.
But then, do we run out of legs second half or last quarter?
And what if you do an injury as well? Then you get stuck with a potentially one-dimensional kind of player, and you waste.
I think there's a game on the same day there as well, isn't there? There's a game.
The St Kilda game. Yep.
So the ground's going to be loose. It's going to be soft tissue central there. So that's
great. And you know what?
Which is not good for the Bombers, to be fair.
Exactly. We do that all on our own. We do that at training and by ourselves. We don't need more ammunition.
You don't do it game day. It's at the hangar.
Exactly. But it's not even an emergency. It's not even an emergency, which is interesting. As you can see, guys, the emergencies for us, Archer May, Matt Guelphy and Jaden Ewan, and then for the Kangas, Jacob Constanti, Jack Darling and Zach Banch. Tell me about who's Zach Banch?
Well, Zach Banch is a small forward we got in the mid-season draft. He was actually our first pick last year in the mid-season, and we took Trembath, the second pick in the mid-season draft last year. I'm not a massive Zach Banch believer. I like Zach Banch, but I maybe haven't seen that thing at AFL level from him that makes me go, that's what he can do at this level. And I hope he works out. People think I'm a massive Banch hater on the pod, and I'm not. I just haven't seen that thing from him yet. I don't think the games I've seen, he hasn't used the ball overly well. He's not much of a goal threat, but he has been very, very good pre-season. And I think they did a VFL practice game. He kicked 3 and he was best on ground. I believe that was against another team as well. It wasn't just like an intra-club thing. So, I don't think he will play, even if I just can't see him coming in, to be honest. I guess Constanti is out, but it's so interesting. I don't know. I'm so surprised by this lineup. It's thrown me. Now I've got to think.
I love the live reaction. This is what we want. And this is, I hope everyone watching is enjoying this. It's getting some really good feedback. So another thing I want to talk to you about is we are having quite obviously some leadership, glaringly bad leadership moments at the moment on field particularly. And we're falling down in that department. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But what I've seen such from Kanga fans over the last couple of weeks, I've seen them lauding how well Luke Parker is doing in that department down back, just straightening you guys up, particularly mostly in that Port game. Obviously, it's a small body of work, but and also Simkin as well, who maybe has got a new lease on life there down at the Kangas. How do you think that I know it's just 2 games, but do you think that that's had a massive impact on this group. I know, like, where are you sitting? Like, what about fourth youngest, fifth youngest now still, or
roughly? I think it's still pretty low. It's still pretty low.
Still quite young.
Yes, and I think the thing is most of the players who play are very young as well. I'd love to see like a stat where it shows like maybe your 25 to 30 most played players, the average age, because we've got a lot of older guys that maybe aren't playing in like a Coleman Jones or a Core, and some players like Luke McDonald last year didn't play very much even though he's playing now. So there's a lot of players who haven't been in and around the team that are older. So I think on game day, we're incredibly young as well, especially when you look at our midfield bar, Sherry and LDU, it's all the young guys in McKercher and Sheasel and Wardlaw and Foss. It's a very young group, and we don't see Parker go through there as much, or Simpkin very much anymore, even Powell. So it's this new brigade. But yeah, I loved Luke Parker in that first game. He was unbelievable. He had 24 touches and went at 100% disposal efficiency in that first game, which was crazy, to be honest. I do think it's a little bit lucky that he didn't get a suspension for jumping into Harley Reid's head on the weekend, to be honest, because it was a little bit clumsy. No, that was a different incident. That was a different incident. It was basically, it wasn't quite as clumsy and boneheaded as what Maynard did to Brayshaw a few years ago, but it was a similar sort of action where he went to smother and he sort of ran into him, but he didn't brace into him and bump him at all. But as soon as I saw that, I went, oh no, that's a suspension. I thought Commons was going to be a suspension as well. Yeah, I did I'm glad these aren't, by the way, because these are like footy incidents, and Harley Reid obviously was running and made a beeline for Comben, even though he tried to play that down and said he wasn't. So I'm glad that's not suspensions this year, and I hope they keep that consistent, because those guys shouldn't miss weeks of footy for something like that. But the Parker one I could maybe see go the way, but he's playing a very similar role to what Jack Zeeble played for us in the last couple of years of his career, where he went to like the half-back line. It's a tough player who sets standards, not afraid to back into a pack and try and take a mark, and can make the right decision when he's running off the half-back line or trying to dispose of the ball off half-back. And when I look at the Bombers, I'm a barber, right? And I talk a lot of football at the barbershop. Lots of Bombers fans coming through this week. And
are they all depressed? Have you had to offer them a tequila and a bit of Kahlua in their coffee?
I like to think I've got a very good gauge of everyone's mood, because I talk to fans of every club, and Bombers are the most depressed is the most accurate word. I've never seen a more depressed fan base. It's just the acceptance of like how bad they might be. And I don't know. And I understand it though, right? And look, we've gone through our own struggles. So I'm not looking down at the Bombers at all and laughing at all. It's, we've all got our own problems over here, but it's leadership is so important. And we got pretty heavily criticized for the Caleb Daniel trade. The Jack Darling one wasn't loved by a lot of media as well. Luke Parker was a good trade. I think everyone sort of agreed with that one, but those three have been pretty integral in their leadership roles amongst the team. I don't think there's any coincidence that Trembath is turning into looking like the player he is. If Darling wasn't there, I don't think he does that. You know what I mean? I think he's such a massive influence. Parker down there, it wasn't a surprise to me at all that the backline looked the most stable it's ever been when you've got a veteran leader down there like that. And I think they got away from that a little bit last week. The Eagles' pressure was crazy. I genuinely want to credit the Eagles with how well they played. I don't think we were necessarily bad. I think they were actually really good. So they sort of found a way to take us away from that. When we get the ball on the back line, how do we move it off half back? Colby McKercher sort of got into the game late, and that's when we started to come back a little bit, but it was a bit too late by then. Parker maybe didn't have the same influence of half back that he did. But if he can rally the troops and be that leader in the back line, Comben is our leadership team sort of player down there. Parker's actually not in our leadership group, but he's playing that leadership role down there. So if he can get back to what he did in that first week, if we can move that ball out of the back line cleanly like we did, I think we're going to have a lot of success. But he's integral to that, and he's a massive part. He was in our best three on the ground in that win against Port.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, and it's not so much the tangible things. Like there are a lot about his game against Port that were tangible, Luke Parker, but it was what I saw off the ball, his interactions with some of the younger guys, just knowing when to spread, knowing when to settle them, and having a Luke Parker, a Jack Daniel, a Caleb Daniel, a Jack Darling, Caleb Daniel, all come from really elite standard clubs and have experienced success. Because Caleb Daniel, he was there with their premiership in the Dolphins, wasn't he? Yeah. So they've all come from exceptionally elite clubs where they had high standards and winning cultures, and it just makes such a difference. And it's no wonder that we fall down. Well, we stink. Let's not, sugarcoat it.
That's why when you didn't sign Goldie again, I was so surprised because I learned who Blackerson was 2 days ago. You're right. Like, and that's not a shade on him. I just hadn't heard of him before. And surely the word was Goldstein wanted to play another year, right? So I was so surprised that maybe the Bombers didn't offer him another year to stay around and be that mentor and maybe chop out a little bit. Again, it would have been a very smart signing because I think he'd be getting a lot of game time. But instead, obviously, the Bombers are going in with very inexperienced players. So, yeah, I think a guy like Goldstein around is so valuable. Or if you could have had maybe some veterans stay around, if like a Dylan Shield worked out a little bit more, like being part of this midfield group could have been so good for everybody. Or if you had a forward who was maybe a slightly better echelon, like a Jack Darling level, who could play down there instead of a Wright or something like that, they're going to structure you up a lot more. Because I think our forward line's been quite dangerous over the last few years. Our problem in the last couple of years has been we can't get it in there enough. But when it's in there, we're actually a pretty decent goal-kicking team. We kicked 15 goals for last week. It's very, very accurate. So, I think Darling structures us up a lot more there, and I hope he's bringing that leadership. And I think that's a big reason why we can look dangerous. So if the Bombers can go out and do that, I think they've got to commit to the build a little bit more, go and get those vets in and set some standards and have some actual leaders. Because it's like Simpkin as an example, right? We talked about Simpkin a little bit, but he was the captain for a long time, but he hasn't played in a final. He hasn't had those big moments. He doesn't know what you've got to perform, the level to perform at when you're on the big stage and the standards to set at successful clubs. So, and it's hard. It's hard to get those players in, especially in their primes, which is basically impossible for clubs like ours at the moment. So, I think the Bombers would do really, really well to be able to go and recruit some guys like that and follow that model, go back to the draft and get as much talent as you can. And it will be a bit of a process. I know you've already been through a lot the last couple of decades, but, there's got to be a plan. And the one thing I've always felt okay about North is like, I see what we're trying to do. And that makes, at least there's a plan there that I can see very slowly, I might add, but it's coming together slowly because I can see the youth. We got the vets and the LDUs, Larkies, Jerry's, Zerhas, those players are ready now. They've got this young core behind them and they've got the old guys teaching them. And that's a good mix. And that's why I think even if we don't explode this year, next couple of years, I think we can move up the ladder and start to become a better club. But I look at the Bombers, I'm like, I just don't know where that comes from 100%. I don't know if they've got the players there to take them to the next level. You got some really good young players, but I think you just need more of them and some veterans. And then I reckon you're on a better path.
Yeah, and it's nuanced. Like we got, as you said, you mentioned Dylan Shield, but he didn't come from a kind
Stringer as well.
Yeah, Stringer did come from kind of a winning he did.
Yeah,
he played in the Bulldogs premiership team. But again, the personalities, they're self-motivated individuals. Your Luke Parker was never that at Sydney, always a team player at Sydney. Jack Darling was always a team culture, team first player at West Coast. Caleb Daniel too. So it's nuanced. You have to be so particular with some of these attributes from these vets, and then they're not easy to come by, unfortunately, and we've got it wrong, unfortunately. Timing, whether timing has played a part or they just didn't want to come to Essendon, as you said, it's hard to attract quality when you can't offer wins. Yeah. What we can offer, and the only thing we can offer is Anzac Day, Dreamtime, hundreds of thousands of resilient fans. But yeah, we're in the mud right now. But what I do know we have is an exceptionally talented group of young guns. We need a few more, as you mentioned, but we need mostly some help developing them. So before I let you go, Josh, what's one way? This is probably a very silly question because we are scaring nobody. But what is one department where we genuinely put that Kangaroos would be scared about Essendon Saturday night? Outside of the emotional toil of like, can Kangaroos show up? It's been 10 years. Yeah. Where on the ground would the Kangaroos be worried about Essendon?
The number one thing I can look at is if Caddy gets off the leash a little bit. I think he's your most dangerous player. I think we should have our forward line and our midfield. I think we should have it covered. I think we've got the talent there and the players who are ready now to perform. The backline's always the question. I don't think it's quite as bad as people think it is. In that round one game, the system in the backline worked well and they looked serviceable enough. If we can get back to that, I'd believe. But if we were going to lose this game, It's the Caddy matchup, or I could see a Peter Wright having a game because there's no one who can go with him in the air, which is just the most North Melbourne thing ever. I'll never forget Josh Bruce kicking 10 against us.
Oh my God. When he was at St Kilda or what Dogs?
No, this was the Bulldogs on one of the Good Friday games, one of the early Good Friday games where we played the Bulldogs, and we just love making a mediocre forward look really good. So, it is the talls going in very small defense other than Charlie Comben. Charlie Comben's 200 centimeters, but other than that, the one-on-one guys are slightly smaller. So I think if you can get quick delivery into the forward line and stick it on Peter Wright's head, or Caddy can use that leap of his and take some marks. That's probably the only way I see maybe the Bombers winning is if they have a big game. But I think, stoppage is always so important for every single game. So if you can get it out of there and enter it in the forward line quickly and catch our smaller defenders off guard to some of your taller forwards, I think that's the way I look at it. Like maybe that could be our Achilles heel in this game.
Okay, well, I knew it was going to come up in the chat. And just keep in mind, Josh, before I put this question to you, we are all very vulnerable and fragile at the moment. So just be aware of that before you answer the question. I'm sure you've seen it. But what's the last time you beat us? Brad Scott was your coach.
Yes.
What is your answer to this question? Again, keep in mind that we are all fragile and we're sensitive. And,
Look, it's so strange with Brad Scott because he's given me the best moments of my football supporting life with 2 prelims back-to-back, 4 finals years in a row. But yet I put most of the blame on him for why we are where we are. I think, and I've heard of, we're not going to start spreading rumors around, but I've heard some things that Brad Scott likes to control a lot of things that maybe he should trust some other people with. And then looking back at what went on at our club sort of after 2016 and after, I don't think he's a very good coach at developing players. I think he can take some bad players and make them role players, but I haven't maybe seen him make a player fantastic or amazing. I know he had a big hand in the drafts that, around 16, 17 for us. And he's got a couple of hits in there, and I know, look, he wasn't the list boss, so I know it's not all down to him. But I just think there's a famous draft for North Melbourne, and I think it was 2016, where our list boss, Cam Joyce, who is also part of the Bombers now, half our staff from back then is part of the Bombers at the moment. But Cam Joyce, who I think is involved with your VFL, did an interview saying that North's just drafted the spine of the future. And that draft was Ed Vickers-Willis, Sam Durden, and I think it was Daniel Nielsen or Dan Curry. It's one or the other. I think Curry played, or Nielsen, whichever one it was. I think they played about 3 to 6 games. Vickers-Willis did get a Rising Star nom, but he did his knee twice and never played again. And Durden spent 10 years in the Carlton Twos, and how he paved out a 10-year career, I'll never understand. So I don't know. It's such a mixed bag for me because I don't love Brad Scott because I think he set us up to fail playing the older guys again and again and not bringing through anybody, because that's why we needed to recruit darling Daniel Parker, was because the players of that age group, that 2016 draft, would be the 30-year-olds now that are teaching your Sheezels and your Ward, like the young guys. But he didn't have any of those players or bring any of those through and develop them. So I'm not convinced he can develop players very well. I look at the Bombers, I'm like, well, who's been drafted maybe under his tutelage or a young player under him that's become a guy that you're like, wow, this guy's going to be the star of the future for us? And Caddy's very talented, but I think he has to show that still.
Archie Roberts is
Archie Roberts.
I wouldn't say he's at wow level yet. In fact, he's definitely not at wow level, but he's the one who improved out of sight last year and came in that Caddy draft. So he's probably the one, and Caddy who just continues to kick goals.
For sure.
But they're probably the two. And it's interesting that you say that about Brad Scott and development, because he says this, and he said it in his press conference again today, and he said it in his very first press conference as Bombers coach, is that his passion and his joy is developing young men. He says that a lot. It's so interesting to me that you deny it. Like it's fascinating.
Yeah, there was so many drafts that he was overwatching, and Cameron Joyce was our list boss at the time, like I said, but Scott had a lot of hand in this, and then it's up to him and his coaching staff to develop these guys. He was at North for a decade, right? And the players that he really that are affecting us now that he got are like LDU, yep, sure. Jerry was like pick 58. So that wasn't, like, he's come on. Larky was 76 or 73, I think. Zerha was a rookie selection as well. So 3 of those 4 core guys that are in their primes now that he drafted were speculative picks. LDU is probably the only one that I can think of that he drafted and has become a guy who could make an All-Australian or could be that quality. It could be an A-grader potentially. Not that he's there yet, but I think he's got the quality to be if he is consistent. I just don't think he develops anybody. I cut a guy's hair called Aaron Mullett at the barbershop, and he played under Brad Scott for years at North Melbourne. And some of the stories he's told me, which maybe aren't for the public domain here, but he didn't. Yeah. Well, there is a story. Basically, it's not that bad. Basically, there's a story about Brad Scott, like Aaron Mullett pulled out of a contest one day. At the Gabba. He played him up at the Gabba, pulled out of a contest. He was a running halfback, Aaron Mullett. He pulled out of a contest, and Brad Scott ripped him off the ground, sprayed him on the phone, barely played him the rest of the game. They got back to Melbourne, and by the time they got back, Brad Scott had put the footage of him pulling out of that contest on every single monitor in Arden Street to embarrass him in front of his peers. And that was Brad Scott's way of trying to show him not to do that anymore. And then he banned him from all football for a week. So he didn't even let him play in the VFL the week after. And that's straight from the player's mouth, by the way. And, you know, I believe what he's saying. He's not a contracted player anymore, so why would he make that up? But
it's also one side of the story, though. Let's
for sure. And look, that's just what I've been told. And yeah, I see that side of Brad Scott.
Do you know, it's funny that you say that Brad Scott did that, because a lot of fans right now think he's too passive and actually want that kind of reaction from him.
Well, that's the same with Clarkson.
That is
Clarkson
where we're
was
at.
too angry. Yeah.
That's right. This is where we're at. People are losing their minds that he's not losing his mind. Like the vitriol, and I understand the anger, don't get me wrong, the system is faulty, but the vitriol against him in terms of him not showing emotion, people saying he's a robot, they actually would welcome that. Like, that's what my brain was telling me during that, while you were telling that story, which is ridiculous.
Well, it's about getting the playing group, and it doesn't look like to me that Brad Scott has the playing group. And they're not in for him. They're not playing for him. And that can be a bit of a cheesy, throwaway line. But I think that is true, because the one thing I've seen since Clarkson has come in is buy-in. We've lost Ben Mackay, which I don't know if we would want him back anyway. And Horn Francis, which was a different situation. Other than that, we've signed, Simpkins signed long-term, Larky signed off an All-Australian year, LDU signed a big deal. We wrapped up Zerha, who I thought was going to leave. We wrapped up Jerry, who's fringe All-Australian sort of ruckman. She's committed to 2032. Colby signed past Tasmania coming in, and he's done that. And I don't think Brad Scott, I don't think Alistair Clarkson gets anywhere near enough credit for doing that off the field for us, because I think we can all agree North Melbourne is starting from zero, right? When Alistair Clarkson came in, and people want to put pressure on him to say, how have you not done better so far? He's only coached 2 seasons if you take away the year that he spent out of the game with the Hawthorn saga. So we're building from such a low base. I love the work he's doing, and he's got these guys to buy in when all these guys could have left. And I don't know if Brad Scott is getting these guys to buy in, because even when he had a crack at Caddy in the press conference after the game, who was your best player against Port, the first thing I thought was, that's Brad Scott. That's what he does.
That's completely taken. That is absolutely being taken out of context. I don't know if 100%.
I saw the clip of it, and I only saw the clip. I didn't watch the full press conference.
Which is important, but this is how it gets taken out of context, because the media have taken it out of context, and people are seeing the headlines and then reading into it, and it's completely disingenuous, and I hated every bit of it, and I planned on having a chat about it tonight when the guests kind of left. But like that kind of that's going after someone, like, and choosing to misunderstand somebody's words. And that's why he's had to come out and just let loose, and he's dropped the fucking shield. He's just cutting the crap, and he's talking about his immortality today. He's saying that we're all going to die soon. Like,
I saw that quote. I read it. I'm like, what is he talking about?
I love it. I love that he's talking about dying.
Has he lost the plot? That's what I want to know.
But I love it. Like, go rogue, because we're at ground zero here. So
why not?
Go rogue.
May as well have a good time while we're here.
Exactly. I think it's fair. That I personally not sure. Maybe it's because Essendon we're such easy clickbaity club, but I don't think near enough attention has been on Clarko, given the weapons, like all of your ingredients are there in terms of your
so
list.
interesting. Yeah. So I got to
And
completely
I
different
think,
perspective.
yeah, it's from an outsider, just from my point of view. Like
Yeah,
I
for sure.
certainly don't. I probably don't have him in terms of between Carlton, Kangas, and Essendon. With who's going to sack the coach first, right? I've got him third. I've got him third on that list.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I
not
still
a great
think
group of clubs there though. That's fine.
True, fair, but I still think he's maybe underperformed with the list at his fingertips. Not to say that he won't perform in the future, but I probably think he's slightly underperformed.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think people understand what we did last year. I think people think we had last year was the same as all the other years. And last year was a year where we doubled our wins from the year before. And the percentage was about 15% higher. And we had lost 7 games by 2 goals or under last year. And that for a club that's scraping the bottom of the barrel the year before, winning 3 games, is a jump. And it's not the jump we want. And it's not the jump, that we wanted to take a bigger jump. But I think when we're rebuilding a whole club here, because people keep likening us to Hawthorn all the time, like, oh, it can turn quick. No, it can't, because we've been in this situation for 7 or 8 years. You know what I mean? It's overturning quick. So,
but isn't that what we're doing with our club? We're starting, and we probably had arguably had more rot to get rid of and to excavate than what Kangaroos did behind the scenes. I mean.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, I'm not in favor of sacking Scott at all. I don't think sacking a guy is going to make you better. Carlton have done this for years, where they sack coach after coach after coach, and they wonder why they don't get better. Yeah. Sorry,
Atush. I'm so sorry, but we're with love.
No. Plenty of DMs from only Carlton. I've got to respond to, I'm sure, at the moment. But a lovely fella. It's not just about Cartledge. It's just clubs in general. I'm like this. I'm a big Premier League fan as well. And these clubs over there sack coach after coach after coach, and they wonder why they're not getting better. You need a standard setter. You need a guy to come in and get through the mud. And if you sack the guy in the middle of the mud, then you're just going to go back to the bottom of the hole where all the mud is. You know what I mean? So I just don't understand it. Like, Solomon isn't going to come in and do anything for Essendon. You need to stick with someone and build a culture. And while you've got a young crop, like Clarkson came in and he drafted, like his first year he was there, he drafted the Sheezels and the Wardlaws and stuff. And, these guys are still, they can barely drink in America. You know what I mean? You need more time. And I liken us to what the Lions were, or what the Tigers and the D's and these clubs that couldn't go and get these big free agents. So they need to get this young list together, and to turn a whole list over when you can really only go through the draft these days, because free agency doesn't work for anyone in Victoria other than Collingwood, Hawthorn and Geelong, right? Realistically. So all you can do is draft. You've got to hope that you get good picks and they're not affected by father, son and academies. You've got to hope the player turns out to be a gun. You've got to hope that they stay, and you've got to have about 15 of them over a 5-year period to turn a list around. And then you've got to wait till they're in their mid-20s before they're superstars and they're dominating the league. She's was 21 years old. So I don't know. The level he's at now is crazy for that age, but I expect he's not even close to his prime. So that's why I'm sort of trying to give Clarkson a little bit more time, because, yes, I completely agree with you. The list is so talented, but they're kids and they haven't had role models and leaders there for long enough. This is year 2 of darling Daniel Parker, so it just needs to gel. And if you sack Clarkson or Scott or even Voss to a degree right now, I don't know what that does positively for the football club. I think you're putting a Band-Aid over a wall that's falling down, to be honest. And I don't think it's going to be very good. There are time frames and stuff, and I think Clarkson cops a lot of negativity from late Brad Scott and David Noble years and stuff. People go, oh, sack Clarkson, North have been bad for 10 years. Well, Clarkson has only coached 2 seasons. So I don't know if that's 100% like fair on him to put that pressure. But I think this is the first year where I realistically think the pressure is on to improve. I think there's no excuse this year. It has to be this year, and we have to start. The Bombers, who are potentially on a bit of a flat line, we have to beat those teams. We needed to beat the Eagles. I'm glad we beat Port. We got the Blues next too. If only Carlton's in the chat, we're going to absolutely destroy on Good Friday. So, it's geez, that's if we lose now, I'm going to absolutely cop that. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I think AFL does it better.
Don't worry.
Yeah, look, yeah, that's right. This is nothing more safe for a North Melbourne fan than an Essendon chat here. So
thank you. I mean, I'm not sure I needed that drive by, but okay, thank you. It's okay.
No, we're all friends here. We're all friends.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
No,
I appreciate it.
I think it just needs a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a fascinating discussion, no doubt. And the way I probably see it, and it's not so much me defending the coach, it's me realizing or believing that in terms, if I'm rating the problems, I don't have the coach at number one. It's in the top three.
I agree.
But for me, I think there are two other glaring factors that if I clicked my fingers and I popped those factors into our team or across our team or behind the scenes, then I think we would look very different. That's not to say that the coach is not getting shit wrong, because he's liable too. Absolutely. But I just think from a holistic point of view, the grass is not just greener if we just interchange another coach right now. And the one that people want hasn't been an assistant coach, hasn't been on a football assistant coach panel for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
So I don't see, how that makes any sense. But anyway, well, Josh, thank you so much for giving me and Bomber fans some of your time today. This has been absolutely insightful and enjoyable, and the chat has loved it and got involved. Again, as I said to Marns, I'm not going to say good luck because we really need this more than you guys. Like, we need this. This is about our souls now, and we need this win on Saturday night. So if there's ever you can beat Carlton, you go out and you beat Carlton by 120 points.
That's easy. We're not worried about that.
Exactly. I give you all permission to do that. But if you could just give us Saturday night, if for nothing else than for the content creators who have to weather the storm and do a fan cam after the game.
What about me? What about my pod after the game, Regardless of what, really quickly, do you think the pressure's on us more or on you more right now for this game?
Definitely you, only because everybody knows that we're shit right now. And if we lose,
completely
it's
agree.
Like
because we did what we did in round one, there's so much more pressure on us. And I think we're further through this build of this current generation of build. We need to be getting out of this year to a degree. I'm not expecting fireworks. I tipped us to finish 12th-ish, and that's sort of what I think is realistic and would be a good jump for us. But yeah, if we don't get this win, I think my week is going to be very, very tough.
By rights, in terms of the trajectory of both our rebuilds, you should win it. In terms of where we are spiritually at the moment as a club, we're below ground. We're in hell's basement, basically. Hell's basement, and we are there, right? Spiritually. So based on those two factors, purely, just by virtue of where you are in your rebuild and you're pretty healthy as a team, you've got most of the Wardlaw coming back, you should by rights beat us by 30, 40, 50 points. But also the fact that we're stuck in the mud, so you should definitely beat us. You need to, really. Putting Marns aside, you really need to beat us to show your fans and to show the competition that this is on the right track and there's brighter days ahead. If you stumble against Brisbane and Bulldogs, so be it. But you need to be beating Essendon.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's not a very safe space for North Melbourne fans to be in, to be honest. We haven't performed when we've needed to perform overly well for a while now. So I'm so nervous for this game. I agree with you. I think on paper we should win. Everything suggests we should be winning this game, but that doesn't mean it's a safe space for me. And it's going to be it's going to be a tough week if we lose this game. It's the pod's going to be hectic.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say I hope it's not, but I hope it is. But I'm sorry if it is, and just know that you will have gifted us and Essendon supporters a bit of joy and happiness for and some sunshine that we haven't seen for 2 weeks. So just know that.
No, look, the words you're saying should make me feel better, but they don't. So, it makes me feel really scared.
That's so fair. Totally fair enough, Josh. Well, thank you so much. This has been so fun. Thank you. Not good luck, but thank you.
We'll see how we go. May the worst team lose.
Very good. Thank you, Josh. See you later.
See you. Bye.
Bye. How good was that? See, I kind of feel better, but I also feel very, very bad because me just verbalizing the fact that by rights North should absolutely win this game by a lot given where we are spiritually, But now the realization just hit me that that's probably going to happen. I can't see it going any other way where we are as a club right now. I don't know if anybody else is genuinely tell me in the chat if you feel any kind of hope or chance that we could win on Saturday night, because I don't. Hello, Gwenda. I love how we have different opinions, but after all is said and done, we still give each other a friendly hug. Exactly. And that's the place, that's the space here at Bomber Banter. We can all have an opinion, but if you're getting down and dirty in a bad way, I'm going to ban you. And I make no apologies for that. You can have strong opinions. Hell, I am passionate as hell, but that doesn't mean that invites disrespect or vitriol. The media are killing us enough. And this is you know what? This is the part that I want to talk to you about, because this is what's getting me soulfully, right? The media are coming from us from every angle. And if you just judge them on what their job is, by definition, they're doing a really good job. They are pouncing on every idiosyncrasy of our loss, of every line. They're reading between the lines, they're mistaking, the context out of players' interviews, out of coaches' interviews. That's their job. It's icky for me, and that's why I didn't become a journalist. I went to uni. I did a journalism degree, and I didn't, because I hated the person you had to become essentially to be a standard journalist. So the media are coming for us. Opposition fans are coming for us. We're an embarrassment. And it's getting to me very, very much that Essendon fans are also turning on each other. The rage is valid. The rage that we're all feeling and the feelings, the deep emotion we are feeling are valid. But we also need to be better at, projecting that rage in the right direction where it belongs. Because turning on each other is not it. It's not it. And all it does is give opposition fans, media, ammunition to keep going harder. We are all sick to death. I'm sick of scrolling and just seeing every single segment on every single footy show coming for us. And then I'll read the comments, or I'll make a comment, and there'll be all this anger at me for my opinion and my comment. And I get where it's coming from, but it's not it, guys. It's not it. So just want to say that. But this is a place where we can all chat. On a respectful level. I was trying to get the words out. I did want to talk a little bit to you all about the Caddy comments in particular. Firstly, I hope everyone here watching and in the chat can appreciate how the comments and how that comment was taken out of context. And Brad Scott himself, can't believe it, had to come out and correct himself. But whoever was here during the fan cams, we watched the presser together. And my immediate, you know me, if you know me well, or if you've been here for a while, I am an authenticity chaser. I want to feel when someone is being authentic and organic, and that is what I believe in. I believe what I feel before I believe in what I'm hearing or seeing. And straight away after that presser, I said to you all, I said, he wasn't blaming Caddy. He was pointing out that moment was demoralizing, and he was using it to show how selfish the rest of the playing group were by just dropping their heads, and how Caddy's performance after that moment showed what an incredible head he has on his shoulder to use it as ammunition to have an incredible game. But the rest of the playing group, largely the more experienced players, took it as, oh, we're fucked. This hill is insurmountable, and went in their shells and didn't fight. That was the point he was trying to make. But do you know what it also reminded me, just in terms of, and it doesn't matter who's coaching, maybe if Brad Scott's not coaching by mid-year or end of year, I want this next coach to coach Caddy in this way too, because it reminded me of when I was at school and doing year 12, and I took English literature as an elective, and it was my favorite subject. I loved it, and won't surprise you, but straight A student, and that's not a flex. I had absolutely no fun at high school, so you can call it a flex or you can call it a regret. But I got straight A's in this class, mid-season exams, rated the highest, But my teacher, my lit teacher in year 12 would always, whenever I would get something wrong or misinterpret a line in a very complicated text or poetry that we were dissecting, she would always use it as the example to not humiliate me, but she would always bring it up in front of the class. I'd hand in drafts where she'd crossed straight through like pretty much the entire page and written, this is not it, or like obviously she used better language than that, but she was basically telling me this needs to be done again. And I'd spent like a week on this draft, right? And this was constantly happening to me. And I thought that I was doing badly and that I wasn't living up to the expectations. And I thought I was going to completely, fail the exam at the end of the year, until we kind of chatted. And I was kind of like, I'm at a loss here. Am I doing something wrong? Like, tell me, I will fix it. And she kind of explained to me that it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong, is that it's just that slowly she was raising the bar for me and I didn't see it. And each time she would raise the bar, I would hit it. And so then she'd raise the bar again, and she was keeping me accountable in order to raise that bar and to raise my level, because she saw the potential in me and she saw that I had levels to go to. And it reminded me so much of Caddy. And again, it doesn't matter which coach is coaching him, but I hope they continue to do that with him. I hope they continue to point out that him hitting the post from point out is like, not in an embarrassing, shameful way, but showing that he's got higher standards to reach and he can get higher, and not letting him rest on just this potential and that he can jump on a few heads and that he's got a spark. I hope that they keep pointing out when he's doing something wrong, and sometimes people with high standards like me, maybe I wouldn't have got the picture had she just told me behind closed doors that this sentence was structured imperfectly. She probably needed to show that in front of class for me to really kind of dig a bit deeper. I don't know. That's getting deep on you guys, but that's where I love to be. So that just made me think of Caddy, and he reminded me of me in that way. Hello, G-Pats. Thank you for the 5. Our biggest chance is if Trump commits ground troops in Iran, China counters, World War III starts, and footy is cancelled. Well, thanks for bringing the positivity. Appreciate that. My high school days were decades ago. Yeah. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. It's probably, none of you are probably going to enjoy that, me going off script, but I think there's something in that. And the same with Archie Roberts. You've got to keep raising that bar and pointing them out when this, because in a way, it's almost too far gone for Parrish and some of these older guys. You do that. They didn't get that done to them when they were, starting out. Maybe they didn't believe they had higher ceilings, or it wasn't pointed out to them. But I think with guys like Caddy and Roberts and maybe Kako and Johnson, not sure about the temperament, but I just hope, because that is what is gonna help them elevate and go to that next level again and again. Caddy is self-driven as well. He is, and so was I. And that's what will make him able to stand. Not shame, not embarrassment, but that's what will make him motivate himself to want to do better. That's what motivated me. I wanted to stop being shown up in front of class and having to redo edits and stuff. And in the end, I ended up getting ducks for my year in English Lit and scoring in the top 10% for the state. So I just think there's something in that. Perkins is still in. Yes, he is. Hello, Heath. How many A graders do you think the Bombers have, even potential A graders? Well, Zach Merritt is an A grader based on history. Is he showing it right now? No. Potential A graders, Nick Martin, Nate Caddy, Archie Roberts, the potential is there. I would argue Isaac Kako, the potential is there. Certainly not there, but the potential is there, definitely. And then, it's very, very early. You know what's interesting about this team selection too, chat? I would be dubious on Sharp. He is still potential laid out for mine. So hang on, I need to double check. Who are our emergencies again? Our emergencies were, go on the right page, Fiona. Guelphy, Nguyen, and Archer May. Oh, Archer May. Wait, did Archer May not? Oh, yeah, Archer May. Sorry, Archer Day Wicks. All right, you can tell she's transcending into delirium. So who would come in if let's say Dyson Sharp is a late out? Because I think they're going to give him right up until the last minute to prove his fitness. You'd think what Matt Guelphy maybe comes in for him. Yeah. Think so. Rids, forget Ridley. Good shout. Although, I mean, a part of me is fearful he won't get back there. I think I want to give a little. Let's all say a prayer to the universe that Rids and give all the amazing positive energy out to the universe for Rids, because appreciate just how hard he would be having to work at his mental health at the minute, knowing that he's going to be playing a game on Saturday, 12:35 at the Hangar. I said in the preview was at Arden Street. My brain glitched. It's at the Hangar at 12:35. But he would be in a really, really challenging spot mentally right now. So sending it out to the universe. He's going to have a great run. Langy, good to have you here. Saints are going to find it hard getting to games. No money left for fuel. That was random, but maybe I'm missing part of the joke. Fiona's the smartest Essendon fan I've ever met. Wow, that makes me think, have you met many Essendon fans and the quality of them? Hello, Visiting Panda. Would they put Sharp on the field if he's... No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are well aware. Don't you worry. They are well aware. Firstly, they're aware of the mistakes of the past, and they're aware of the precious commodity that Sharp is. And given that they've dropped 2 babies, they won't risk and won't have any issues dropping him. Fiorini, I think, is just being managed, and he's clearly had some soreness, and he's just an older guy who knows his body, and he's just not doing the high intensity training blocks for me. But Sharp, definitely. Yeah, Guelphy. Yeah. I know I said I thought we could beat Port, but I truly believe we win and win easily. Oh, this is dangerous areas. I don't feel comfortable in that area. Hello, Charlie. Look who's dropped by. Charlie, the king, the god. Thank God for Charlie in our lives, right? If you're not familiar, well, firstly, where have you been? But secondly, Charlie Dons on Twitter and Instagram. Best photographer by far of Essendon content, of Essendon training. Yeah, I don't think either. Yeah, lots for Guelphy. Yeah, it's interesting. We could do worse than pushing Gresham and Kako into the midfield for some stints. He's only interested in getting the ball, Gresham, but if he does it, that's more than what some of the others are doing right now. That's how I see it. You're right, Noel. You're right. It's his last chance. Can't be an Essendon fan and be smart. A smart person would have jumped ship. Nah, see, this is who you are at your core, I reckon. You don't make friends with defectors. I hope nobody here is a friend with a defector. You know, a defector, someone who just switched teams because the other team was winning grand finals and their team was losing. You don't. That's who you are at your core. So I would say that we are smart in that regard. Yeah. You're just saying that because if Carlton lose, it's just going to make you feel better. Have you seen the new Herb? Firstly, Rhapsody, are you not across this? Why did you call me that? Secondly, of course I have. The King. I think it's up there with one of my faves that he's done, actually. Anybody else? Definitely. Hello, Muzz, my man. Did you really? No, but I could be too immersed in the Essendon negativity wheel at the moment. In fact, I probably am. And for my mental health, I should probably jump out of the wheel. But that's why you guys are here and signing up as members, because all that helps as well. Keep me on the wheel. And to be frank, that's what keeps this channel going. While you're here, if anybody's not hit that subscribe button, please do that. That also helps. And the like button, that helps as well. And it takes merely a second. So please do that. Love you, King. Odds have us losing. Yeah, surely no odds have us winning. That's ridiculous. That's just silly. Silly. Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Big hearts. Yes, you're a lucky man. I hope you haven't booked any September holidays, Heath, because I think you're going to be busy. Very, very busy and happy. That must be nice. Rid said the other night that for the first time he doesn't feel pressure to rush his rehab. He's ready and prepared. Oh, God, how I wish that attitude was what would, translate into just a lovely, clear run, because he deserves it. He has put in, no one can say he has not put his head down and put in the hard work. Yeah, I agree, Tiger Time. Thank you for being here. No, they're not, but you're underestimating how very, very, very bad, spiritually bad we are right now. And when the spirit's gone, and here's the thing, right? Like, I know that sounds very dire, and it is, granted, but it's not. Spirit can re-immerse and be reconnected with, because it's always there. It's never gone. It's forgotten about. And right now, the players are not spiritually connected to each other, to the coaching group, to what they're meant to be doing. And that is showing a great amount of disconnect. But that doesn't mean it cannot be reintegrated and reconnected with. It is there. So is that a little bit of hope for you? He actually is, Spiros. He really is. Oh, yeah. I've honestly rejigged my right now. I don't see a win coming, so maybe you don't ask me now. That's ridiculous. We will get a win at some stage, maybe 2. I'm just trying to protect my heart at this point. 12% chance. Yeah, that's about right. In fact, that could be a bit high. No. The only thing we have going into this game is that North haven't beaten us since 2016. I think Muzz is right, everybody. I think that's right. Hello, Jono. My partner keeps telling me to change teams if I'm so annoyed. Lucky for her, loyalty is one of my core values. And this is what I'm trying to get to Essendon supporters. At the end of the day, nobody's holding a gun to our heads and making us support, making us show up, making us pay membership. Nobody's doing that. So at some stage, each and every one of us has taken responsibility for our own decisions and our own actions. None of us are victims here. We just, unfortunately, have inherited a very bad football club. Nothing that is not meant for us finds us. So if you believe in that, and you should, because it is true, we were meant to barrack for Essendon. Now, maybe that means that somewhere in the hopefully not so distant future, that very great highs are coming. And imagine, hold on to manifest. If everybody manifests like Caddy did, if you follow me on Insta, you saw the snippet from the Caddy interview I posted. He said he and Isaac Kako sit there and visualize winning a final, breaking the drought. They visualize it, and they visualize how they'll react. And they are stepping into the people who have already achieved that and connecting to the version of themselves who have already achieved that finals win. And if every single Essendon supporter did that, the quantum field, mate, that's going to be rocking. And that's how it works, because we are made up of matter and energy, but not enough people kind of are on that wheel. I wish we could get more, because me doing my manifestations and my visualizations in my own room for my football club is not enough. I'm not powerful enough alone. It is a collective effort. That's why I feel like mentally at the club, I don't know that they believe that they can survive this, that they can fight through this. The older players don't look like they believe. The younger players do, because they're untarnished. They have a belief. But the older players look defeated to me. And when you're in that mindset, that is a lack mindset. Nobody is climbing mountains with that mindset, let alone performing on a football field. So to me, they need to get back in their mental palaces. Honestly, if the chat after the game they had lights of fire, I can see us winning. Not a bad shout by you. Have a million chats. They should be chatting all the time. Close those doors. This is a big, big game for Andy McGrath. Big game. As I spoke to with Josh, look at the difference that Luke Parker and Jack Darling and those, and Caleb Daniel, who all came from really, really quality systems and winning cultures, and they know what it takes. Look at the difference that's had. And whilst I do kind of sympathise with him in that Brad Scott didn't develop the players into those players, I think you need a bit of both. History shows that you need a bit of both. You need to bring in other players from different cultures and different systems to kind of inject a different perspective into an already inbuilt system. So there's two ways to think of this. Hit the like button like you wanted to hit a smart Alec Pie supporter. Absolutely. Do as Gwenda says. Are you doing the first goal scorer? Not officially, but you can give me a first goal scorer unofficially. All right. Feel like a lot of you are going to go off and watch the game now, so am I. Before you go, everybody give me a first goal scorer. Who am I going to go? A first goal scorer, either team. Ooh. Look, my big man is not in good form, but with absolutely no evidence as to why I should pick him, I'm going to say Peter Wright, first goal. Who you got? Love it. Larky, I mean, that is high potential. Yes, I love it. Again, if Perkins is sitting there visualising that he's going to kick that first fucking goal and he's going to hurt some bodies and is he visualising that? Because I can do it for him, but it doesn't translate. I'm not convinced that they're doing that. I don't think he believes. Larky, yeah, okay. Kako, nice. Langford would want to. If Langford kicks a first goal, let me tell you, team, like I said to Josh, if we get a big run on, if we get 3 goals in a row, we will feel confident. The crowd will feel something we haven't felt for, what are we at now? 16,000 games in a row? No, 15 games in a row. The crowd will feel it. The crowd will get involved. And we can have something to build on, something tangible that they can feel and build on. Get 3 in a row. It starts in the middle, the midfield. It's on the midfield. Gresham's going to start on the field for you, Adam. Okay. Darling. Thank you, Spiros. Appreciate that. First goal right. All right, yeah. Come on board with me for 2 metre. Tiger time, going Caddy. Go Crows. Oh, I can't go against my second team. So go Cats for me. I'm telling you. He's the one I would love to get in a room one-on-one with, because I don't think they're teaching him how to go inward, because it's all in the head for him. I know some of you might think this is woo-woo, and I try my best not to get super mystic on you, but is there anybody who thinks that it is anything other than in the head for Perkins? Because I'm not sure I could see eye to eye with you. It is all in his head. Jade, hello, lovely. Archday Wicks, I like this shout. Maz, I don't even be watching the game. I work till midnight. Well, you'll be right on time for the fan cams then, shall we? I think I should get home by about 10:55, everyone. So that's the time we're going to go live. Yeah, they are. I love it. I love him. If Brad Scott doesn't survive, I'm telling you now, I want Corey and Wright as our next coach. Looking to the future. Stop looking backwards, everybody. Corey and Wright, love him. Bookmark this video. That's a good point. It is. But for Perkins, it's like on steroids. Sorry to bring steroids into the conversation. I know we're all still a bit touchy about that. But for him, it's, yeah. Ooh, Dominic, running defense, make him accountable. That could be dangerous. Maybe that's like around 22 kind of areas when it's really, I mean, it's already gone, let's be honest, but when you're trying shit just for the sake of trying shit, right? because I just loved Bomber Thompson when he was there. And then I loved their teams. And I didn't even love the big names like Gary Ablett and Scarlett. I loved like Wojcinski and Enright and some of the others they had floating around there. Some of the random ones, Oddens and James Kelly. I just loved them. I love what they stood for. The image of Bomber Thompson eating a sandwich just lives rent-free in my head. The image of him eating a sandwich in the coach's box. It just lives rent-free in my head for all of time. Absolutely. In your head, and it mirrors your heart. But if there is a disconnect, if there is no communion between the two, so the head is saying that you suck, listen to hundreds of thousands of Essendon supporters groaning at you, look at your highlights, they suck, look at your game stats, they suck. If your brain is constantly telling you that and your nervous system is hearing that, well, our heads default to our most dominant thought. And if that is his most dominant thought, that's just repeating on repeat. And if he doesn't know how to interrupt that, he knows what his heart is. His nervous system knows. But if his nervous system is at the mercy of what his head is saying, because it is, that's how it works, well, he's not going to get far. It all starts here. It's about interrupting those limiting, debilitating thoughts, because they become what you feel. See, Brad Scott, introspection today. Fiona, Bomber Banter, introspection. That's where we're going. I love that he spoke about death and dying. Loved it. All right, let's get out of here. What's a good call? Now I got it. As the defensive coach. Yeah, I just want him as our coach. He has, I reckon he's, no, that's not true. That's not true, because those thoughts can develop. Those thoughts develop either through trauma, through social conditioning, through internalizing, everything that you absorb, social media. And again, if any people who have more trauma than others, it becomes a default setting. And along the way, you wake up and you realize and you make a decision that you don't want to live like that anymore. And so you start to do the work about learning how you can interrupt your thoughts and that you can change the architecture of your brain. Because at your core, if you know who you are at your core, but something is not happening, something is still going wrong, you're not performing how you believe you can, that is a coding problem in your brain. All right, that's enough from me, guys. I will see you all post-game Saturday night, hopefully in a happier mood, possibly not, but I'll be here either way, probably about 10:55, but you know the drill. If I'm not here at the time that it says live, I will be here sure after. So have a good Friday, everyone. I'm also going to get down to the VFL for a little bit. And yeah, I'll see you all Saturday night.